Hi everyone, it's your girl Torty here. So breaking news. D-News is retarded. Now, sometimes they post good science videos. I used to watch them and trust them to actually be factual. And now they have decided to take the politically correct side instead of giving scientific facts, which is odd since it demonstrates itself as a trustworthy science source. The video is titled, Science Says There Are More Than Two Genders.
This week we're talking about gender identity. It's a really important topic.
Is it though? It really shouldn't be that important what gender someone is. In fact, it's a pretty trivial trait about people, unless you know you're talking about bio or neurological differences. But now it's trendy for gender to mean everything. Transgenders are validated by stuff like this video, and now we have pseudoscience buzzing around everywhere. Good job.
What is the science saying about gender identity? Gender is something that is taught to us. It's not something that we are born with.
What? No. Gender is male or female. Check one of the boxes. You are born with one of those two genitals, which makes you either a boy or a girl, a penis or a vagina.
Gender is taught to us from the moment we are born.
I was never taught to be a girl or told by my parents or any elders that I need to love the color pink or like only girly things. Sure, I was given a pink room when I was a baby, but so what? Once I'm old enough to think for myself and even give half a shit what color my room is, I'm allowed to change it if I don't like it. But it just so happens that I do like pink and purple and makeup, because that's just what I like, not because I was taught that. I have some girly traits and some traits that are considered more male traits. That just makes up my personality, not my gender.
They give us, little hats, little blue or pink hats, little blankets. And a lot of people make it uncomfortable to talk about because some people are uncomfortable discussing why they are how they are. It's really hard to get that kind of self-awareness.
What is so hard about this subject? I mean, when you try to make your gender identity into being the most important and interesting thing about who you are, then you really should find a better hobby.
But it affects everything that we do.
No.
So think about it. Pink for boys, blue for girls, right? Think about it. Did I say that right? Should it be the other way around? Blue for boys, pink for girls? Does that make more sense? It really doesn't. And in fact, in the Women's Journal in the early 1900s, pink was a more decided and stronger color, is more suitable for the boy, while blue, which is more delicate and dainty, is prettier for the girl.
Just because the colors that supposedly go with the gender switched doesn't mean anything about the two genders themselves switched.
These things change over time. Culture determines gender. And a 2010 study of transgender people said that they knew their gender identity by age 5.
What kind of nonsense are you spewing, dude? How does culture determine gender? And the only thing I was worried about when I was 5 was taking care of my stuffed rabbit, Jack. 5-year-olds should not even be thinking about gender identities.
So to imply, as some do occasionally, that transgender is a new thing, it's not new. We're just slowly starting to understand it. Gender is put upon us, and the fluidity of that gender is because we grow and we age and we change.
Yeah, we grow and change our personality, our opinions, and our views on the world, not our gender. What makes you unable to differentiate between personality traits and gender?
So we have the biological gender. We've got gender identity, which includes transgender. We've got gender roles. Those are very important for a lot of different reasons, but they're also not important.
They're so very important. Gender roles just ruin my life every day.
Sexual orientation, which includes heterosexual, bisexual, homosexual, asexual, all of those are part of the fluidity of our gender.
No, sexuality is who you want to have sex with. What gender you are attracted to, not your gender. Just make gender a synonym for everything, why don't you? You basically already have.
So let's break this down scientifically.
Finally, some science.
While you're in the womb, every fetus is a female. They all start that way. The Y chromosome is added at the right time, which makes the body present as male.
The Y chromosome makes him a male. He doesn't present as anything. That's just what he is.
But even then, sometimes things don't develop properly.
Well, we know that your brain hasn't developed properly, but just keep that in mind. It didn't develop properly.
The clitoris comes from the same fetal tissue as a penis. It's called a homologous organ, which means that sometimes the clitoris is oversized and sometimes the penis is dramatically undersized. And that happens.
Yeah?
It happens fairly often. Sometimes both exist, which is a hermaphrodite or an intersex situation. This happens quite often. Some animals, not really humans, but some animals are gynandromorphs, which is some cells are male and some cells are female. It sometimes will manifest as, say, a bird that's half one color and half another color. Hyenas, also something from the animal world, their clitoris is sometimes called a protopenis, again illustrating that these are homologous organs. The protopenis on a hyena can actually get an erection, they can have sex with it. These are female hyenas, and they can even urinate through it. So, to imply that sex or gender is fixed and always the same is wrong, because things change, and nature is never 100%.
Yes, that's why we have the word defect. It's a genetic problem caused by one or more abnormalities in the genome, especially a condition that is present from birth. Most genetic disorders are quite rare and affect one person in every several thousands or millions.
We know that gender isn't tied to physicality because we've seen it in human populations.
Most people can tell whether someone is a male or female just by looking at them for about 3 seconds. Even when trannies are passing, they don't have the same organs as the opposite gender that they were switching over to. And by the way, I'm totally cool with genuine transgender people. They transition from one gender to the other, but that's still two genders, sir.
Gender roles, which I mentioned earlier, are important because it helps us define what we are supposed to be doing in society, but they're also not important because they are societal creations. Gender roles can hurt people. Boys can only be strong action heroes, only, even if they don't like that.
No, not only. There might be more men who naturally want to act that way because men have evolved to be the stronger, more muscular, hunter, less emotional sex, while the female is more concerned with giving birth. Not as physically as strong, but they are more nurturing to take care of the baby, while the man protects her and the child. That's how humans had to make their way of life for hundreds of years. So, more people may be like that, but no one is forcing anything. We have words like tomboy for that. Stop being so overly sensitive about gender roles and do whatever the hell you want, and life will be cool.
Think of, movies like Billy Elliot, where he wanted to dance, and he was considered somehow less manly by people in this story. It hurt. It sucks. Girls can only be housewives and homemakers. These are gender roles that people have.
I've never had anyone tell me I have to do those things. I identify as a girl. Are you saying I'm not a girl if I don't do these things? I'm offended.
Girls must wear shoes which crush their feet, undergarments which cover because modesty, and support in specific ways that may actually be damaging to the girls' bodies. But they have to do this because gender roles say they have to do this.
No, women and men both have the freedom to work equally now. Just because more women may choose to take time off of work to take care of her baby doesn't mean there's anything wrong with that or that anyone is forcing her. I know for a fact that I want to personally take care of my child when I have one because I'm their parent and I feel like I have that responsibility, and it actually brings women joy.
The gender spectrum is another important part of science. It's been studied a long time in psychology. The gender spectrum, as it was once called, was a spectrum from feminine to masculine, a line that everyone fell on. But there's way more than that. No one is 100% feminine, no one's 100% masculine. But the BEM sex role inventory, or BSRI, was a flawed measure and a way to determine whether you were masculine or feminine or somewhere in between, which was called androgynous. And if you didn't fall anywhere on there, you were called undifferentiated. is bad because this does not grasp all of the complexity and nuance of gender.
If someone has androgynous genitals, that is a defect. It didn't develop properly, remember? Not a new gender. I have some masculine and some feminine personality traits. Doesn't mean I'm gender non binary. Telling people that if they have certain personality traits, that means they're not a male or female is misinforming them. I lift weights sometimes. I belch out loud every day. I'm into subjects that are more populated with males, such as politics. And I'm currently working on my degree in a STEM field. But I would never tell you that, because then you would just assume my gender isn't fully female, and you would be misgendering me. So, fuck you.
Because we're assuming that there's only two right answers and everything else is sort of in between. Better and a more modern way of looking at this is a gender continuum.
So, we're making gender a synonym for a math concept now?
Because people will change over their lives, they'll identify with different things at different times. There are a lot of different gender definitions: agender, or neutral, with no gender; androgynous, which is many genders; bigender, which is two genders that are combined; cisgender, which means you identify with the sexual parts that you have, that you were born with.
You have like 20 different terms for the exact same word, and cisgender is just the normal. When everything develops properly, you're either a male or a female. Even transgender people don't want to be that way. They want to be born with the body and mind that they feel they are. The rest are body or brain defects.
Gender queer, which means that you're kind of figuring it out still, like gender fluid or gender questioning. There are all these different terms, more and more and more of them. And they're all important in the gender continuum. And it's confusing. It's really confusing. But it's valuable because how we identify is important and it's unique to each person, and it's going to change throughout your life.
Why is everyone so fucking stupid?
I'm sorry, but you can't just say that you are something and have that be fact. I can identify as Orville Redenbacher's poppycock. Doesn't mean that's what I am. I wish, though.
You may be born and believe yourself to be cisgender or agender, and then later in your life become more androgynous, and then even later in your life become gender questioning and not really sure where you lie. This is completely normal.
No, gender isn't a fluid thing that can change every day. It's a biological fact that a person is born with that determines what kind of sexual reproduction organs they will have.
We grow and we change. Some people may want a little more science than psychology. I know it gets some flack.
The last time you told me you were going to give me science, you just made emotional arguments and non-factual arguments. Don't disappoint me this time.
So, they looked at gender in the brains of rats. They added an enzyme called estradiol, and that inhibited DNA methyltransferase, which is to say it changed their DNA just a little bit, or it inhibited a way that DNA naturally changes. This caused a change in the gender of these rats.
Wow, you altered their DNA to do specifically the thing you wanted it to do. So that means there's more than two genders. Brilliant.
Now, they didn't go interview them, they observed them. So physically, these rats were female, say the researchers, but in their reproductive behavior, they behaved as males. That's the closest we can get to observing a gender change in animals.
Yeah, you had to alter their genes to do that. It's not something that happens naturally. These people should be ashamed to call themselves a science show and spread so much nonsense. And he still has yet to explain how there's more than two genders. Alright, I'm done with this guy. I will put a link in the description to this video if you want to watch the rest of it. So, key points to sum this up. Gender is not a synonym for whatever word snowflakes want it to be a synonym for. Birth defect does not equal new gender. Trans people want to transition to male or female. That means two genders. And like you said, gender roles don't matter. Bye, guys.